Today I had the idea to talk about recruiting, specifically because I want to actually discuss what does it actually mean, when they say a team has recruited the most talented players. I'm going to use Alabama specifically because generally they've gotten the number one recruiting class over the past few years. And a lot of people say that makes Alabama the most talented team in the nation. They have the most five stars, a lot of four-star guys, a lot of talent. And I'm here to kind of offer a little pushback on that because there's a little nuance going on in that. So if you notice, and I've noticed, I'm an Alabama fan, I watched him. Alabama doesn't always have the fastest players. They don't always have the strongest players. They don't always have the biggest players. They don't always have the players with the best measurements. And so I have to ask, what qualifies as most talented? Because if we're going to say most talented in a general sense, people are usually talking about speed, acceleration, height, length, all of those measurables that determine whether someone is talented. And we say that is no more recruiting class. And so I think that gives off a false notion when it comes to the Alabama team, mainly because there's a lot more that goes into recruiting than talent. Coaches don't always offer the scholarships to the fastest guys, the biggest guys, the guys with the most measurements. Now, that stuff is important. You do need talent to play the game of football. But the reason why I say it's a false notion that, when they say Alabama has the number one recruiting class or so-and-so has the number two or number three, number four recruiting class, they're the most talented teams in the nation. They don't necessarily just go out there and only recruit guys with the best measurements. So you can't really say Alabama has the most talented team of all of college football. I'm going to try to break that down a little bit. It's a little bit hard to explain. But based on Nick Saban and things that he said and how he recruits players and watching the team, when he goes and recruits a guy, he's looking for their intangibles, those things that you can't measure. He's looking for their IQ, the football IQ, where they are in life. And also, he does look for the speed and the talent because you do need that. But that's not always the most determining factor. When he recruits a cornerback, he doesn't say, all right, who's the fastest cornerback in the nation? Let me go find that guy. He looks for a combination of factors to see if that player will be best for his program. And a weird thing that happens and a lot of people don't know is that usually when Alabama goes after a guy, the recruiting services tend to start bumping up that guy's ratings because they figure Alabama's a good evaluation, so that player must be really good. And sometimes they've already got that guy evaluated pretty highly, and so they don't have to adjust. But usually when they see Alabama going after the guy, they start to re-evaluate that player, and sometimes it goes higher. And it kind of gives the impression that, oh, this guy must be the most talented of the most talented of the most talented guys in the nation. And it may not necessarily be so. It could be that just Nick Saban thought this guy will be a great fit in our program. He will be able to come into the process and do what we need him to do to be a successful player. That's funny. I sounded a lot like Nick Saban there. But I think that is an integral part of understanding recruiting. So when Alabama has the number one recruiting class, know that the recruiting services are typically giving out their rating and kind of giving the impression that it's like the most talented of the most talented of the most talented. But it could be that it's just a class of 25 guys who fit the Alabama program so well, who Nick Saban thinks can be successful in the football program. He may not, when he recruits a quarterback, he may not be the guy with the strongest arm, but it could be a guy with a strong enough arm who has the football IQ to excel in the program. When he recruits a DB, it may not be the fastest cornerback in the nation, but he could be a DB with enough speed and length and football IQ to excel in the Alabama program. And that's just like touching on the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more that goes into that, but I just felt like I needed to make a video on that because I believe there's a misconception about how recruiting services do things and how that actually translates to the field. So thanks for listening.